Pittman with Boise Cascade. I'm our Southeast Region Manager, so I kind of cover Southeast Region. I live right here in Nashville, Tennessee. Today I've got the honor and privilege of introducing one of our great business partners of Boise Cascade, Ray Hayles here at Walker Lumber. I've got a little script that was given to me, but go off script just here a little bit. So I think Ray and Scott bought the business about 10 years ago. Sound right, Ray? And from the time I've met them, they've always been very forward-thinking, kind of thinking about some of the stuff Ray's going to talk about today. I remember stopping by the yard probably April or May of 2021. If you guys remember, that was kind of the height of COVID, right? I think we'd maybe just come out of a little downturn where we thought the world was ending, and everybody started buying houses, and everybody needed more products in the industry. But I remember stopping by the yard to meet with their EWP manager, Dave Wills, and Ray was out in the yard. We talked for a minute, and Ray said, look, man, we're so busy right now, we can't keep up with orders, and we don't want people walking in the store because we don't have risk exposure with COVID, right? So we're gonna set this little booth out in the yard and let folks drive through and make sure we're getting their tickets and we're turning orders in a timely manner. And I was kind of thinking to myself, he's trying to invent like a Chick-fil-A for the lumberyard business, you know what I mean? And that's pretty much what they did. And I think they took it to the next level. So Ray and Scott have done a great job taking what was already a good business with Walker Lumber and kind of taking it to the next level. So on Wednesday, many of you guys toured Walker Lumber's yard. Today, we'll pull back the curtain on the systems and choices behind what you saw. In Walker Lumber, 17 Minutes and Second Chances, Ray Hayles of Walker Lumber and Rick Schumacher will take a deeper dive into the practices that helped earn Walker Lumber recognition as a 2023 LBM Journal Dealer of the Year. Ray will unpack the yard efficiencies that keep customers moving, like their 17-minute average time in the store and the operational habits to make those results repeatable. He'll also share the story and structure of their Second Chance program, which creates opportunities for community members while strengthening the business. You'll leave with practical ideas to turn time as money into a measurable advantage and a real-world example of doing well by doing good. Please join me in welcoming Ray and Rick to the stage.
All right, thanks for hanging out. So this is just Ray and I are going to be freestyling up here. Ray's a good friend. I've known him since I met him when they were named an LBM Journal Dealer of the Year. I visited their yard at his urging, and I saw what they do and how they do it, and we've just connected. And it's a great story. He's a great guy, and he agreed to come up here on stage with me for a half hour to just talk. So feel free to ask questions. Otherwise, we're just going to be just chatting. So Ray, talk to me about Walker Lumber, just like the details, how you got started, where you're at.
So my business partner and my brother-in-law is a guy named Scott McMillan, and we bought Walker roughly 10 years ago. And I think you wanted me to share some insight into kind of numbers. When we bought Walker, we had about 30 employees, and we're doing about 20 million in sales, and we grew that at the height to about 77 million. And we've grown from 30 employees to, depends on the day, but between 75 and 85 people. And just had a really good run. I think we're really blessed to be in Nashville, Tennessee. There's a lot of people a lot smarter than us in this business that have struggled just in smaller markets, and we've been fortunate enough to be in an area that not only has grown but continues to grow. And so we've done a lot of things wrong, but one of the things we've done right is we've hired some really good people. We were able to retain the really good people when we bought the company, and we were able to hire some really good people since then, and it's just been a fun ride.
So when we were looking over the nominations for the Dealer of the Year, and this came as a complete shock to Ray, by the way, which is sort of fun. So they were nominated by a vendor who shared the story of a lot of the things they're doing, the operational things, and the people things, which we're going to touch on. But it was just. It just grabbed me. I mean, it was very, very cool. So when they learned that they were a Dealer of the Year, it was like this big shock and big surprise, and it was fun. So, but one of the things, the tangible things, was the 17-minute turnaround. Can you talk about that?
Yeah. time is money in every business. Turns are really important in a retail-based business. And, I think a lot of people go to work and end up doing the same thing that they've always done because they've always done it that way. And we've just been challenged from the very beginning to ask our customers what they want, to really stay involved in that, ask them, when they come in, where are you going next? And what are you getting there? And starting to think about, well, are there some things that we might not even carry that we need to carry that we can make some money on? But with a home builder, our business is primarily the premium custom home builder and remodeler. We don't do much of anything with production builders or track home builders. And, we have about 400 to 500 tickets in the store a day. And, a lot of these people are leaving the job and coming to us and then turning around and going back to their job. When we bought Walker Lumber in 2016, they were doing 15 to 18 deliveries a day. We do about 75 deliveries a day now. When Scott and I bought the company, I worked in the yard for a year. Scott worked in the yard for 6 months. Scott, as I told you, he's my business partner, and he has his master's in tax law. He was an in-house attorney for Goldman Sachs for 17 years, and he got into the lumber business. Seems like a pretty logical move, right? But he's a detail guy, and he's a lot smarter than me. But one of the things that we wanted to do from the beginning was to figure out not only where everything was and what everything was, but how everything moved. So Scott worked in the yard for 6 months, and then he went inside to become over purchasing while the former owner stayed for a year. And I stayed in the yard. I worked in the yard for a year. Then I drove a truck for 6 months, and then became the yard manager. And so that was kind of how we wanted to start learning things and put our systems in place and learn the systems that already existed and try to figure out what systems we could put in place to make it better. And some of our best ideas honestly came from our employees, our team members that had been there that had never really been listened to. Why don't we have a rack here? Or if we had another forklift in this part of the yard, it could be better. And so we started trying to listen and incorporate some of the ideas that made sense into what we were going to do going forward. As you all know, one of the hardest things I've experienced in my life, not just in this business but in others, is earning people's trust. And it can be broken in a moment and broken forever, and it takes a lifetime to build. And when we bought a business that we didn't know anything about, we just felt like we could make it better. But in order to make it better, we had to earn people's trust. And one of the ways we wanted to earn their trust is by jumping out in the yard and not being there for 3 hours one day or 1 week. I was out there for 2 years. Every person that comes to Walker now, we say Rick's met our operations. We have a Jason Bourne operations guy who's just awesome. And when he came to us, we made him work in the yard for 6 months. And he was like, what? We had an IT guy that came, and he had to work in the yard for 6 months. And that's a hard sell sometimes when you've got people who think they're coming, and it wasn't a surprise to them. We explained to that before. It's really important for us to not have an us versus them mentality of the inside guys versus the outside guys, or the forklift drivers and the salespeople. Our mission statement at Walker Lumber and everything that we do is to serve others with excellence. And that's not just our customers, it's each other. From the way we hire people to the way we fire people, to the way we do our biannual reviews. everything revolves around serving others with excellence. That's the question in every question that we talk about. How are you serving with excellence in your department, with your team, to the customers? And so everybody that works at Walker starts in the yard, and we make them work the cycle before they come in. And that way they learn everybody's name. If they need something when they ultimately end up in sales or sales support, if they need something from the yard, they know where it is, they know who to ask for, they know where to go. And it's created a camaraderie that is undefeated. And but back to your question, Rick, of the 17-minute, I want to stop really before I answer that and just say, my partner and I, Scott and I, have really enjoyed the LBM Strategies meetings each year because it's given us an opportunity to meet people outside of our little town and become friends with them and share ideas with. There's a guy here, I can't see because of the light, but Wilson Lumber down in Birmingham. They're now in Nashville. Rob Wilson has become a friend. He became a friend of mine through a guy in Dallas, Texas named Dave Reichert. And Dave said, yeah, I think y'all would get along. Y'all share some of the same faith-based principles and treat people right. And, Rob's been up to, and Josh been up to our store in Nashville. We've been down to theirs. They're friendly competitors with us now in this market. And Dave Reichert, he's a guy in Dallas that get on the phone with him probably 2-3 times a year. I don't know if many of y'all went to Ganal last year in LA, but Pete and Peter have become friends. And we've taken our management team out there 3 times, I think, to learn, because there are other people doing things better than we are, and we're not too arrogant to admit that. And the 17-minute idea, coming back full circle to that, came from a Ganal Lumber metric they were tracking. I thought, man, we need to be doing that. That wasn't my idea. And so randomly throughout the year, we'll place 2 people in the yard at the gates, and we'll time people from the time they come in to the time they leave. Now, you might say that's a kind of a waste for a week to put 2 people just clocking in and clocking out of people coming in the yard, but it's really it creates a story for us to tell to our customer. And, oftentimes the project manager or the owner of the building group that we're dealing with is calling orders in and calling this. And one of the things that we try to do is communicate well, either in person, social media, emails. When we're having the pricing escalations during COVID, is just keeping our customers informed of what was going on. But one of the things that, just to give you a tangible example, is if Rick is running a job site and he needs 42 befores, he might tell Bubba over here to drop his tool belt and head to Walker to get it because he's got to keep his framers going. He don't want them to leave. So he drops his tool belt, heads into town, fills up with gas, goes into the bathroom, comes to Walker, talks it up, heads back, stops at Whataburger on the way home, and gets back to the job 2 hours later. And in the meantime, some of his crew might have left. They're not as productive because the head guy is not there, whatever the circumstance might be. But we wanted to measure something and manage something. You can't manage something if you don't measure it. And the 17-minute metric came from, we wanted to communicate to our customers. We know that your time is important. That's important to us, and we want to communicate to you what we're doing to try and help you out. So for 1 week, it didn't matter if someone came in for a box of nails, the next customer came in for a box of caulk. The next customer came in to get a takeoff done. The next person came in and spent 2 hours in our design department working on a house plan. Everything was averaged. And during that week, it was 17 minutes was the average time that a customer pulled in to our gate and left our gate, no matter what they did while they were there. So we were able to communicate that to our customers, say, hey, look, we know it's important to you, we're doing our end of the job. One of the things that Adam mentioned, I think Rick was gonna ask me, so I'll go ahead and jump the gun, is during COVID, we had Mr. Ocean Man showed up and told us we needed to close our store. And I looked at Mr. Ocean Man and I said, I'm not closing my store. And he said, well, you have to. I said, we're an essential business. I said, there's a Home Depot a mile down the road that has thousands of customers going in it every day. I bet you hadn't showed up there. As you can imagine, that conversation didn't go real well. But he came back a week later and said, you hadn't closed, this is a cease and desist, you have to close. And so I called our attorney and I got with Tim, Scott and I did, who's our operations manager, and I said, the reason they're making us close the store is we're not social distancing. So we're gonna give it to the guy, and we're closing the doors of the store where people can't come in, but on Monday, I need all of the people that are at Walker in customer service and sales support to be out in the parking lot with iPads. And he looked at me like, okay, it's Friday at 3 and you're telling me you want this by Monday morning? I said, yeah. He worked all weekend, and on Monday morning, we were fully operational in the yard. So if Rick was driving in and stopped, I'd say, hey, Rick, man, glad to have you here today, but you can't come in the store, but I tell you what, we're gonna be your personal shopper. Due to the COVID situation, we have to shop for you. He's like, okay. And at first it was a little clunky, but then the customers got used to it and they loved it. So about a year later, when the lift came off of COVID and we were able to open the store back on, we started getting feedback from our customers that said, hey, look, glad y'all are opening back up, but you can't go away from this thing y'all been doing. We can sit in our car, we can return emails, text, phone calls. This is awesome, and y'all get everything for us. And so, you know, the lumber business is a lot like the chicken business, wouldn't y'all say? So we took a page out of Chick-fil-A. Every time you go to Chick-fil-A, there's a line of cars around the building, and the people are generally really friendly. And if you like chicken, the chicken's good. It's a winning combination. And so we said, you know what? Why don't we take this, what we've been doing, and build a drive-through center, and our customers, we kind of got them already trained that if they call ahead, we'll have their order picked and the in-store shopping done for them, and we can just streamline that. And so what we ended up doing is building a little building that's attached to Walker. There's a drive-through, and now 30% of our business doesn't even come in the store anymore. They just call. They call, they need a box of caulk, box of nails, some fasteners, some hangers, and 22 by-4s and 30 2x8s. And when they get to Walker Lumber, they pull up to that drive-through, they tell them the name, Rick Schumacher, I'm working at 3224 Mockingbird, here's my PO. The guy looks in his system, grabs the stuff that has been pre-picked from the store, hands it to him, usually puts it in the back of their truck, and they swing around the store, and we've got their order picked, and they're out. And it's created an incredibly sticky customer due to the fact that we were thinking outside of the box. We were asking good questions from our customers, asking good questions to our teammates who could help us come up with an idea or ideas to serve with excellence to our customers.
So let's see. I want to get, okay.
How much time we got left, Rick?
We got 9 minutes.
9 minutes, all right.
So I just want to make sure we have enough time because this next one, so Ray talks a lot about, there's a lot of people out there smarter than him and they're just kind of getting by, and it's like, he's very, very humble. They bought this company, the sales were low. 10 years later, sales are less than 10 years later, sales have exploded. They're doing all these really, really smart things. So he's really good at what he does. But the reason that, the reason he's up here, frankly, is because of when I invited them to come and speak at our conference a few years ago in Charlotte. And he said, well, before we come and speak, he wanted me to come and visit. So I came and visited, and they got me the tour, and I learned the whole story. But the big thing that really grabbed me was when we went out to the yard, and there was a lot more people than were necessary. It was like kind of the opposite of lean. It was like, let's have more people than we need. And so we talked about that. And so talk to me about the Second Chance program.
Well, I would say we are incredibly lean. It may have appeared that way, but the bottom line is this may not be for everybody, but my faith is really important to me. And it says in the Bible, to whom much is given, much is required. I believe that. And the Lord has blessed our business beyond measure. And we have some great people. And the people that we have, the pressure that I've always felt more than anything is to provide for our people. Give them room for growth. Take care of them. Love on them. And one of our customers one day said, hey, I'm 12 years sober and I own some halfway houses, and would you ever think of hiring somebody that's down on their luck? That's exactly what he said. And I said, sure. I didn't know what that looked like. To fast forward, I know we've probably got 7 minutes now. And at the end of the day, I'm leading a roundtable, a discussion to answer any questions you might have. So if you have any questions, please come up and talk to me. I'll be here for 3:30 to 5 at the end of the day. But the long and short is, we felt like we'd always been charitable and involved with philanthropy in and around Nashville, even sat on and led some boards and co-chaired some things. But to be able to have the opportunity to have a human impact on people's lives was something that just registered with me. Outside of my wife and my children, the thing I'm most proud of is the Second Chance program that we built. It's changed my life. It's changed other people's lives. We've had probably 150 people come through Walker Lumber, and we have 13 full-time employees now that have come through the Second Chance program and have earned full-time positions at our company. And just to be able to see, Rick has become friends in his many visits to Walker with David Blair. David Blair's mother was raped when she was 13 years old. David is a biracial. He grew up in small town Kentucky in a redneck, all-white town. Never knew his dad. He was biracial in a town that really didn't accept that, and grew up a fighter. Was raised by his grandmother because his mom was on drugs. You can imagine the stories that he has in his life. Ended up becoming a user himself. He was in the military and got discharged. Lived on the streets, was homeless, and he came to work at Walker after he had been doing his work and doing his recovery. We hired David, and he is look, we sold last year, or earlier this year, to LBM. It was a very good financial day for us. I wouldn't put that doesn't even touch the story of David. David started with us in the yard. He then moved to forklift. He then became the inventory manager. He then became the yard manager. He now sits on our executive leadership team. He leads the Second Chance program. He has a wife. He has kids. He owns a house. He has a company car. If you want to talk about a life that's been changed because someone just loved on him and saw potential in him. Now, everybody hadn't worked out. Let's go back to our mission statement. Our mission statement is to serve others with excellence. And in this Second Chance program, we're not taking somebody that's OD'd on heroin last week. We've built partnerships through these ministries and said, hey, if you got a guy that is working his steps and is serious about his recovery, if and when we need someone, we'd love to give him an opportunity. Everybody hadn't worked out. But like I told y'all, it starts with the hiring and the firing of our mission statement, serving with excellence. We bring them in. We say, hey, look, this isn't a perfect place, but it's a good place. And if you want to buy into the family aspect that we're trying to build here, we'd love to have you. And if you can serve others with excellence, not just our customers, but our people too, this could be a good place and a path for you. So now David, when he runs the Second Chance program and is the guy that has a company car and a guy who runs the yard, these guys come in, he's like, hey, look, I'm a living example of what's happened. This could be you. I will tell you this, at our height, we probably had 82 employees. We've got less now, I think in the 70s. Some of our Second Chance program people are the best employees that we have. They would take a bullet for me and Scott because we took a chance on them. We loved on them. We gave them a mentor. And I think all of you, Keim Lumber came down from Ohio last year. They brought their whole management team and said, we'd love to come spend the day with you. I said, great. I thought one or two guys would come. They had two vans. I think there were like 18 people. And they're like, we got to know about this. We think we can do this too. We had a publicly held company from Memphis. We had a billionaire, and the publicly held company was the Pacific Northwest. A billionaire from Memphis, Tennessee came in. And, if we can share that, most of the people here are either owners or in management of their companies. And labor used to be a problem for us. We had a lot of turnover. We don't have that anymore. And one of the reasons the Second Chance program has been so successful is now often they recruit for us buddies who have struggled or are struggling, and they tell them about the opportunity and the family that they've got in their family at Walker Lumber. So if any of you are interested in that, at the end of the day, I would love to talk to you about it. And when we sold to US LBM, that was one of the reasons we went with them. If you were at Walker yesterday, you saw Walker Lumber. Scott and I became friends with Jim Hooper and LT Gibson. And when they looked at us and said, hey, we want to know more about this culture. We have 500 companies in our portfolio and we don't see this anywhere. And they've let us keep that. And they've asked us about how they could do that in other places. So if any of you are interested, I don't care if you have 10 employees in a single store or multiple store location. If you have a heart for wanting to help some people, I got some ideas I'd love to share with you. So do I get a free lunch now, Rick?
You do get a free lunch. Actually, lunch is free for everybody. It's on the 4th floor. But first, I just want to say this. So, genuinely good human being, really smart business guy, good friend. So thank you, Ray.
Well, yeah. I'm honored to be here. You must be short on speakers to get me up here,
Apparently.
so thanks.
Thank you.
All right.